Okay, so the section we're going to cover today is section 5E in the book. It's all about correlation and causality. So again, it's best to follow along with the notes that I have posted online, but I'll make sure that I write out in detail all the stuff that's on there. So in section 5E, again, we're talking about correlation. And so the first question becomes, what is correlation? Well, correlation is a relationship between two variables. And that relationship can have two different forms. You can have positive correlation. And for positive correlation, what we want to say is that two unknowns trend in the same direction. In other words, as one value increases, that causes some other value or some other unknown to increase in the same way. So we'll say an increase or decrease in one variable causes the same result or the same action in the other variable. Let's think of some examples of positive correlation. I mentioned in class last time the example of the temperature outside and ice cream sales. As the temperature outside increases, it gets warmer, more people are more inclined to eat ice cream, and so ice cream sales tend to go up. I don't have to go much farther than my neighborhood ice cream store in the summer to see the line really long, to identify that that's an example of positive correlation. So we'll say here, ice cream sales and temperature. Again, this can go in the other direction. So as the temperature decreases, or as ice cream sales decrease, we expect the other variable to be going down as well. That still means that there's positive correlation. The positive really just indicates that they're moving in the same direction. Think of like a negative over a negative being a positive as well. It's that same idea, that whatever one is trending, the other variable is trending in the same direction. That's in contrast to negative correlation. And so negative correlation has this inverse relationship between variables. In other words, as one goes up, the other goes down. An example of negative correlation. Let's see. Maybe hot chocolate sales and temperature. Usually I have a hankering for hot cocoa when it's cold outside. And as soon as it gets warm outside, I'm looking at iced drinks. And so warm drinks, just like in the previous case, tend to move in the opposite direction of temperature. As it gets warm outside, we're less likely to drink hot chocolate, for example. Again, I'm just using things that we consume in the temperature, but there are lots of different variables that we can use examples of that have positive and negative correlation. In fact, we'll look at more later. So from there, we need to know more about what correlation looks like. And so we're going to talk about the properties of correlation now. The first and important property of correlation is it's a numerical value. So it's a number. And that numerical value ranges between -1 and +1. Generally, we use the letter R to denote correlation. When R is close to +1, we have strong positive correlation. And when R is getting closer to -1, we have a strong negative correlation. And lastly, as R is close to 0, we have weak or no correlation. So just to recap, when we have large positive numbers, large meaning close to 1, 0.94 for example, then what we have is we have a strong relationship between two variables where both of them are trending in the same direction. When the R value is close to -1, that shows us that we have some relationship where variables are trending in the opposite direction. And by the way, I'm just going to show you with a nice little highlighter here visually what that looks like. For R is +1, we get this increase from left. Oh, that's not a very good one. Let me see if I have a better one. We have this increase that goes from left to right. Okay. When R is -1, then we have this decrease, a slope that's negative. And when R is 0, this is when we have this weak or no correlation at all. Maybe a line that's just kind of going straight across with no slope at all. These are our properties for correlation. I'm going to post a second video here when this one is over, when our lecture video is over, that just does some exploration into correlation. I'll do a screen share with some of the apps that are available online, and I'll post that as like the second lecture video. So visual representations of this concept, correlation, can be found in the next video. If it helps for you to pause this video, jump into the next video for some examples, and then jump back, that's perfectly fine. We have one more concept to discuss before I go into that next video. So one of the things that we need to know is what causes correlation. So why does correlation happen? Is it always that two variables have an influence on one another? Is it that one variable has a strong influence on another? Could we just get lucky? And the answer is all of those things are possible. And that's where we have to kind of differentiate ourselves between the concept of correlation and then the idea of causality.